Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. On a late autumn afternoon in New York City, the sky was heavy, laden with gray clouds that seemed to hang over the city, ready to rain down at any moment. The air, fresh and biting, rustled the dead leaves that littered the paths of Central Park, where the last orange rays of the sun struggled to pierce the ambient melancholy. Ethan Marshall walked with measured steps along the path lined with bare trees. After an exhausting day running his technology company, he sought a respite from his mind, tormented by numbers and strategic decisions. At 36, he had accumulated wealth and success, elegant apartments in the most exclusive neighborhoods, luxury cars purring in his garages. But tonight, despite all this splendor, he felt an emptiness he couldn't name, like a spark of humanity forgotten amidst this world of glass and steel. As he approached a bench by the lake, movement caught his attention. Two small figures sat side by side, holding a tabby kitten that mewed weakly, looking exhausted. The twins, about 12 years old, had flaming red hair that cascaded freely over their shoulders, contrasting with their pale complexions. Their green eyes, though lively, were clouded with sadness, as if carrying the weight of a secret too heavy for their age. Between them lay a crumpled sign, with childish writing that attempted to appeal for compassion. "For sale. Please help us." Ethan slowed down, intrigued and suddenly filled with an empathy he hadn't felt in a long time. He knelt gently beside them, trying not to frighten the girls or the frail kitten. "Hey, girls, are you selling this kid?" he asked gently, his voice betraying genuine concern. The more reserved twin lowered her eyes, nodding wordlessly. The other, braver twin raised her head, letting deep emotion filter through her trembling voice. "Yes, sir. We have to sell it for." She swallowed hard, her lips tightening as her eyes filled with unshed tears. "To help Mom." A heavy silence fell for a moment. Ethan felt a lump form in his throat, his heart clenching violently. He moved a little closer, lowering himself to their level to show them he was there, that he was listening without judgment. "Can you tell me?" he asked softly, inviting them to share what was weighing them down. The twins were Emma and Lily Thompson. Barely 12 years old, they shared an unbreakable bond, a reflection of their shared struggle against life's challenges. They lived alone with their mother, Sarah, in a small apartment on the third floor of a dilapidated building in Queens, far from the bright lights of Manhattan. The place was modest, a narrow living room with slightly faded walls, a tiny kitchen where an old kettle occasionally whistled, and two bedrooms that seemed too small to contain the memories and dreams of the three women. The poorly insulated windows let in the autumn chill, but also the pale light of a city that never sleeps. Since their father's sudden death a year earlier, Sarah had been juggling several odd jobs: hotel cleaner, supermarket cashier, and sometimes even daycare help, trying to keep the house afloat. The death had left a huge void, both emotionally and financially. She did her best to never show her fatigue to the girls, even though her eyes sometimes betrayed her sleepless nights, and her hands trembled slightly when she thought no one was looking. But recently, everything had changed. An insidious illness had eaten away at Sarah until she was rushed to the hospital. Since then, the medical bills had been piling up relentlessly, threatening to overwhelm this already fragile family. The treatments, the tests, the medications, everything cost far more than they could afford. The tabby kitten they held in their hands, Pumpkin, had become their last treasure, a refuge from fear and sadness. Found abandoned in an alley a few months earlier, Pumpkin had brought a glimmer of hope to their gray daily life. His little purrs and cuddles had softened the hardest days. But now they knew that survival required a cruel sacrifice. To pay the next medical bill, they had to sell Pumpkin, even if it broke their hearts. Emma, the more composed twin, lowered her head, then looked up to explain in a broken voice. "Mom is sick," she said with a shaky breath. "She needs care we can no longer afford. We've tried everything, but we're out of money." Lily, beside her, hugged Pumpkin, as if to hold back the tears that threatened to fall. Ethan, who was listening attentively, felt a mixture of admiration and deep sadness wash over him. These two little girls, despite their youth, carried an immense weight on their frail shoulders, with a maturity and courage that were overwhelming. After a heavy silence, Ethan spoke again, his voice soft but firm. "Listen, I'm Ethan. I don't just want to buy this kitten, I want to help you." The twins' eyes widened, surprise and disbelief etching their tired faces. "Why would you do that?" Lily whispered, her voice hesitant. "Because everyone deserves a chance, especially when they're as brave as you. Come with me," Ethan said, extending his hand to them with a warm smile. Without really understanding, the twins took his hand, and he walked them into their small apartment in Queens. Inside, Ethan discovered a modest world filled with love and dignity. Sarah, lying on the couch, pale but dignified, welcomed them with gratitude. Her tired eyes shone with hope at the sight of this new face, the bearer of unexpected help. After a long conversation where Sarah recounted her struggle, Ethan decided to step in, not only to pay for Sarah's care, but to give this family a chance to breathe again. The day after this moving encounter, Ethan Marshall took concrete action. Far from a simple one-off philanthropic gesture, he understood that action was needed effectively and over the long term. He immediately launched a fundraising campaign within his business network and in the local community, mobilizing his influential contacts, his employees, and even the media. Sarah's cause, this courageous mother in a silent struggle, deeply touched everyone who heard her story. Soon, the money raised exceeded what was needed to cover urgent medical care, medication, and rehabilitation sessions. But Ethan didn't stop there. He offered Sarah a job at one of his companies, a rapidly expanding technology firm, where she could work part-time with flexible hours, allowing her to recover peacefully without losing her independence or dignity. This simple but stable job was a breath of fresh air for her after months of uncertainty and dependency. As for Emma and Lily, Ethan didn't want them to be deprived of their childhood or isolated by this ordeal. With the help of his teams, he had a small community library built in their Queens neighborhood, a warm and lively place where the twins could immerse themselves in reading, participate in workshops, and meet other children their age. This project was also designed as a space for awakening, education, and support, so that the neighborhood's children would have easy access to culture and knowledge, regardless of their social status. And Pumpkin, the little tabby kitten who had been the very symbol of their struggle, was never sold. Ethan welcomed him into his own office, on a soft cushion by the window. Pumpkin became a silent companion through the long workdays, a constant reminder that humanity is not measured by wealth, but by the ability to love and protect the most vulnerable. As the months passed, life slowly returned to normal. Sarah regained her health, thanks to the constant care and emotional support of her daughters and Ethan. Emma and Lily, freed from the burden of worry, rediscovered the joy of childhood. They laughed, played, and dreamed again. But what no one knew yet was that this chance encounter in a New York park would turn Ethan's life upside down. By helping this family, by delving into their sometimes brutal reality, he discovered a new meaning to his existence, far removed from profits, quarterly balance sheets, and contracts. This experience sparked an unexpected vocation. With the same determination that had led him to the top of his empire, he decided to found a charity dedicated to helping struggling families in New York's underprivileged neighborhoods. His foundation offered medical and educational assistance, as well as training and psychological support programs, to give everyone the chance to rebuild their lives with dignity. This mission became his new reason for living, a light in an often cold and indifferent world. One autumn day, as leaves swirled gently under a clear blue sky after a light rain, Ethan strolled leisurely through Central Park. The city buzzed in the distance, but here, in this green haven in the heart of New York, everything seemed suspended, peaceful. At the bend in a path lined with flamboyant maples, her gaze suddenly fell upon a scene that made her heart beat a little faster. There, sitting on a weathered wooden bench, a woman with tired but luminous features was chatting with two little girls with bright red hair, who were laughing heartily. At their feet, Pumpkin, the tabby kitten who had grown into a graceful young cat, scampered with carefree energy, her joyful little hops betraying a life that was finally peaceful. Their eyes met, and a warm smile, full of gratitude and hope, passed between them like a silent pact. Sarah, now visibly stronger, raised her hand in a sincere gesture of greeting. Emma and Lily, their eyes shining, tentatively approached Ethan, their bright smiles revealing all the light they had rediscovered in their childhood. In that suspended moment, Ethan felt a deep emotion wash over him. The certainty that what he had accomplished went far beyond numbers, business, or philanthropy. He realized that, despite the trials, despite the difficulties, it was the humanity in one's heart that made all the difference. That day, amidst the shimmering colors of Central Park, he understood that true wealth was not measured by the money amassed, but by the ability to offer hope, to lighten burdens, and to restore a smile to those who had lost it. They stayed there for a long time, exchanging simple words, shared laughter, and that fragile but precious peace that only true solidarity can offer.